Staring at the red.
Is that the new funny ways?
Yeah. Yes. Yes.
Whenever you're ready, Curtis.
Okay.
Introduce him to your mom, then make him sit down.
Welcome back, those of you that stuck around. Thank you. I'm going to make a couple quick announcements before we introduce the next part. And I think you covered this, right? Memberships are available. They help to keep Triac's doors open, particularly over the course of the summer when we don't have things like this. We rely on community support. I have lived and traveled extensively throughout this country and read and participated in community events that were largely centered around the arts, poetry, music, etc. And I will tell you that this really is a special place, that you do not find too many nonprofit organizations anymore in this economic times, etc., with their doors still open, that are not overly funded by the grants and the foundations that rely on the people in the community to be a part of it at its heart and soul. So this is really, I feel, a special place, and that's why, for me, I put the time and effort into this space to create this community that you all are tonight a part of. So I encourage you to consider getting a membership. We will come back in September with more programs. I think we're also going to be doing some classes. We also have a trip to Chicago in the work. We'll get a bus. We're going to go check out some of the museums and the art and culture in Chicago in October. October 13th, it's a Saturday. So put that on your calendar. And stay tuned to the website and the emails for possibly joining us for that. But this really is, I mean, think about it. In Fort Wayne, where else for $5, really, you know, half the cost of a movie ticket, can you go out and get this sort of experience, this type of cultural experience, literary experience, and learn something and be a part of it? There's not much going, I mean, you know, the bars do the music scene, and there's poetry here and there, but really this is Fort Wayne's most unique place, I think. And so, you know, we hope you'll continue to support the Three Rivers Institute of African Arts and Culture. Are there any other announcements?
If somebody doesn't want to be a member, can they just make a donation?
No, we do not. No, you have to. No, we certainly welcome donations. You know, if you want to donate at the door, we would gladly accept it and put that. Know that we're putting that to good use. We don't have a paid staff. We don't have a big operating budget, and again, we're not getting in lots of money from grants and that kind of stuff. We simply just ground and pound because we believe in creating this space. So, with that said, our next poet, you know, when I said I would do the June 23rd, we asked a couple of people, we were trying to get an out-of-town musician to come, she couldn't make it. We asked a couple of people and they said, well, what's the lineup? And I said, well, just me, and they said, hell no. But the one person that I really wanted to share the stage with was Ketu Oladuwa, who, as you probably know, is the artistic director here. I've heard his poetry time and again, and I never get tired of it. I learn from it every time. He is dedicated beyond measure to Triac, to creating an institute of learning, African-based art and culture. He teaches the young people, he teaches elders. I'm really honored and blessed. Mary Nance, I think you brought me to his birthday celebration a couple years ago, maybe?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Put that out there.
That makes up for everything else. Thank you. And so it really is an honor and blessing to be up here sharing the stage and my name in the headlines tonight with Ketu Oladuwa. I know he's got a big body of work that looks like it's probably going to take 3 hours to get through. So kick back, sit back, relax, strap on your seatbelt, and help me welcome Ketu Oladuwa to the stage.
Thank you, Emmanuel, for that wonderful introduction. Before I get started, let me say peace and blessings to each and every one of you, and to each and every one of the families that is represented here. My name is Omowale-Ketu Oladuwa. I am the son of Carrie and John Taylor and Margaret Fisher and Tyrone Foster. Tyrone is still among the living. The other three have crossed over and now fuel my fire from the other side. The work that I've been doing here in Fort Wayne that has grown into Triac really began with a group of 13 outstanding little people. They were little people at the time. And they called themselves the Three Rivers Djembe Ensemble. That ensemble grew to be 35 young people who, over the course of 13 years, have touched the lives of 250,000 people here in Fort Wayne, in this region, the Chicago area, and as far away as Vermont and West Africa. One of the members of that ensemble is in the house tonight. She is a graduate. She has graduated high school, and she is on her way to the U.S. Navy in December. And I just want to honor Serena Hudson and her parents, Joanne and Cliff Hudson. Please stand. It is truly a pleasure and a blessing working with you, Serena. You are an excellent student, but you are a good teacher as well. Okay, poetry. I've been writing, I started writing when I was in prison. I went to prison in the 1960s, in 1966. I was convicted of murder and sentenced to death in Massachusetts. It's a murder I didn't commit, but that don't matter because I went to prison. And that was the event that saved my life, because I was on the track for self-destruction. In prison, I met people who were able to give me a lifeline to reality. They were murderers. They were people who cared deeply about the communities that they came from. One came from an Italian community. Another came from a deep Louisiana community. But these two men who I shared the death house with taught me how to be myself, because I didn't know how to be myself at 21, and that was obvious because I was someplace that I had no business being. But they taught me how to be myself, and in that era, in the 60s, in the late 60s, when America was on fire, remember, Watts blew up in 65, Harlem blew up in 64, and America blew up in 67 and 68. That was the period into which I found my identity. I came into an understanding of who it was that I am. And so my poetry speaks to that political awakening, it speaks to that social awakening, and it speaks to that spiritual awakening. And most intensely, it speaks to the spiritual awakening. Because had it not been for the spirit, I'd have still been in the death house. Had it not been for the ancestors who walked me through that process of becoming, I'd have still been in the death house. Had it not been for my mother, who was angelic or Orishik, I'd have still been in the death house. And so there's a lot of weightiness to the words that I use and to the images that I use. That's where the weight comes from. Because when I came out here, what I saw was prison. What we said there was that we were in maximum security and everybody on the outside was in general population. That hasn't changed much. This first poem I'm going to read is the poem that let me know that words were the root for my self-expression, which was a way for me to find myself. So in this poem, I'm speaking to myself, but I'm also speaking to those images that I saw in the 60s, particularly on Tony Brown's journal, talking about the liberation of African people, particularly black people here in America. It's called the Tendi for Tamu. A Tendi is a East African Swahili, Kiswahili poem. It has an AAB structure. AAAB structure. Of course, I didn't write it like that because I was freeing myself. I want to free myself from this structure, but I'm going to use the name anyway. Tamu was the name for Angela Davis. It was the Swahili name for Angela Davis. Does everybody know who Angela Davis is? Tendi for Tamu. And you talk about the revolution and how you're going to change the world. Change yourself. And you talk about the revolution and all power to the people. Talk about yourself. While doing the same old jive things in time to larcenous rhyme, ripping off nickels and dimes in time to your greed, your psychological subconscious need for things white, things not of or like you. And you talk about the revolution and how you want to bring it to the people. Bring it to your people. Bring it to yourself. Here you come, intellectualizing black pain. 400 years of hurt you want to represent as the revolution. Represent yourself. Don't come around our daughters playing your intellectual games, talking about Marx and Lenin, Engels and De Grey, Che and Castro, and the thoughts of Chairman Mao and Uncle Ho's Victory Garden. Telling our daughters to follow those righteous revolutionaries because our African fathers are simple children in the wilderness waiting to be led again, needing your strength to lead them back to things African. Don't you come talking about those righteous revolutionaries. Though I love the sound of their names, the spirit in which they came, the legacy of love that sustains. Don't speak of righteousness or of revolution. Tell me of yourself, of how you dispossess things African for the intellectual ramblings of other nationals. Tell me of your blackness, of your Africanness, and how you lost it in the wake of Marxian dialectic. Just gave it up for the unfulfilled dream of revolution, pinned down in the theory between a white woman's legs, and how your revolution is black, following white, still. Still you tell me of your revolution and I'll tell you of your revolution. Tell me of your revolution and I'll tell you of your revolution. Of your mama with her back bent over white folks' stoves, putting elbow grease to Miss Ann's floors. And I'll tell you of your sister and how the raping came and went and came again, leaving her stranded on the block, deadened by emotional shock. And I'll tell you of your woman and how she slaves for you while you go off to fight other wars in white folks' beds, leaving her need unfulfilled by your impotent, non-violent intrigues. And I'll tell you of Angela. And I'll tell you of Tamu, who is Angela. And of the struggle to be a nation, and of Tamu, and of the sisterhood, and of the change. And I'll tell you of Nikki and Sonia, of Nina and Lena, of Betty Shabazz and Fannie Duhana. And I'll tell you of the wisdom of Ella J. Baker and Shirley Dubois, and of Aretha. And I'll tell you of the revolution you missed, are missing, go on missing. Every time you hang your head in shame or psychologically disclaim or make excuses because Moynihan came and ran a game you swallowed on the evils of a matriarchal society and benign neglect. And how your white mind can't meet her eyes. Face her, who is the revolution, is the only revolution, is the light and thunder of all those bad boy games you playing with revolutionary socialism, which is communalism, from which you came, but now you want to credit Marxian dialectic for the light of life burning in your African name? And her, who is the revolution, is the only revolution, and who waits on her warrior to come home to the Africa of her love. So the revolution, talking about a real revolution, talking about a change from all those Negro games revolution, talking about a change, a change, a change. And if you look close enough, you'll see the revolutionary strength of the slave daughter, who is your woman, your mother, the bearer of your nation, the healer of your universe, the African lily of your seed, changing, I said changing the whiteness of synthetic Marxian dialectic to the spiritual grace of trains, love supreme, a change in your mind revolution, the only must real be revolution. And you see how you're no longer the shadow of anything white, but the substance of a black woman's love. And the snow in spring fades away into, changes into, is absorbed and transformed into the rich black soil and subsoil of Mother Earth. I've had the pleasure to be blessed by incredible women in my life. Women have saved me. Women are my strength. Women have resurrected me. Go with it, dance. From my mother to my first wife, and my second wife, and my third and fourth, fifth. I've only had two. I was married the first time for 17 years. And I'm in the second one for, this is the 23rd one. So,
That's a strong woman.
yeah, it is. That's what she tells me all the time, Mary. I got to be a strong woman to deal with you. You a piece of work, boy. But my wife, Clydia, for about 10 years from, the mid-90s to mid-2005, 2006, ran a homeless shelter called Second Chance. And we did some workshops, I did some workshops with women from that shelter. And this is a poem that came out of that. It's called Second Chance, Second Session. And what I'm doing is I'm going back and coming forward before I get to the really obnoxious stuff.
There's more?
In a circle. And Whenever I do a workshop, we gather in a circle so that everybody can see one another. The circle is an egalitarian space. I apologize for this space, but we can't do this in this space, okay? This is a hierarchical space. You're looking at the back of somebody's head. There's no relationship with the back of somebody's head. Turn around and say hello to the person in the back. Okay? You ain't got no people even there. Cliff, there ain't nobody in back. So we started in a circle and we were dealing with drums and poetry. And this is came out of that session with those incredible women. In a circle, eyes roll back, hear the beat of drum. Spirits enter, ancestor call. The stones remember, bare bruised feet, the crucified stolen bodies crisscrossing familiar land, chains biting flesh, a blood trail oozing separation, worms devouring the bleeding sacrifice, hungry sharks feasting on middle passage leapovers. A whip-scarred stone remembers, broken black body bent into sugarcane stalk, Caribbean plantation, South Carolina, rice paddy, Virginia, tobacco acre, miles of Mississippi Delta cotton. Stone and tree and root and river, remember. Tiny busted pebble, twisted branch, the human heart, a mortified limb in a dry riverbed, marrow deepened root, remember. Granite boulders hewn from stone mountain, fired stone evaporates water, winding through life's narrow river. These women were going through some really narrow rivers in their lives, really narrow rivers. But the poetry that they were able to produce was like stones for them that they could step on to make their way out of that shelter and into a life where they could deal with their children and their responsibilities. All the talk of peace, goodwill to men, amen. Democratic principle, freedom. And freed black men on horseback, killers in the bleached sand, killers in the White House, killers of New Day, talk of just war, or talk of just another war. Rotted garbage, canned pink flesh, heaped up bins of lies, stink of body sacks stacked up on the backs of the working poor, bloated, festering in mass graves from Juarez to Joburg, Fort Wayne. Maquiladoras, slave plantation, international trade in human flesh, ain't nothing changed. Poverty, poor minions, laboring for the right to live, no respect of life, only profit motive suffices, no future for women. Here, women gang raped in Georgia prisons, in Conakry Stadium, in Thai and Nigerian red light districts, on New Orleans killing floor, and in South Bronx hallways, Manhattan high-rise and South Dakota farmhouse, painted red with the blood of violated virgins. For the women of Juarez, buried alive after being gang done and left for dead, split wide open, bleeding in the glare of police spotlights and newspaper headlines. Interrogated women, poor women standing on corners, legs gapped for the fevered sucking of infertile braggarts with limp wrists and swollen Johnsons. Grown children sucking marrow from chicken bones. Ciudad Juarez, Las Muertes de Juarez, Maquiladora, slave of Jesus' mission, abandoned in vacant lots to rotting, waiting for Amnesty International. As of February 2005, more than 370 young women and girls had been murdered in the cities of Ciudad Juarez and Chihuahua. Pink crosses, offerings for the body count for the women of Juarez. Gender equality for women. Women should have as much immunity for killing men as men for slaughtering women. There was, at the last, I think it was the last cafe that we did, or maybe it was the one before that. There was an issue. Everybody remember where Obama signed the
When he signed in to be the president?
hmm?
When he signed in to be the president?
No, when he signed the, I think he signed the order for gay marriage. Remember that?
Yeah.
Okay. Huh. That, I was really taken aback by that. Taken aback by the politics of it.
Right.
Because he didn't do it because it was the right thing to do. He did it because he needed the vote. And it took me back to my childhood, to my teenage years. In my teenage years, I had a friend, his name was Benny. And Benny was gay. Benny was gay. Benny didn't make no pretensions about being anything but Benny. And Benny was just a kid. And so this poem is for Benny. It's in remembrance of Benny. And it's for Benny's strength. And it's for all the Bennys who still have to deal with other folks' stuff. Benny was my friend. A year or so older than me at 15, dark-skinned, southern-born black boy with feminine features and woman ways. He walked and talked live, body alive. Benny tasted glee, would throw back his head and a high-pitched giggling laugh, few doubts about his identity. Yet Benny threw down, y'all. Defied homo stereotypes rife in the 50s in our small New York world neighborhood. You see, Benny was a hard hitter, a black boy who took many a lick to prove he wasn't no punk just because he was a boy who liked other boys. Fact was, Benny was funnier than a $3 bill and wasn't closeted or in nobody's pocket, was out long before gay became the watchword for men who preferred the sexual favors of other men. But Benny wasn't no man. Benny was just a scared kid, like all the rest of us know-nothings playing bad to keep the streets from crawling into our guts and consuming the goodness our mothers lived and died to give us. And we of little understanding stood shaky in the Eisenhower years that framed us in shades of white by our flight from cops and thugs and our own ignorant male violence. But Benny understood all too well, understood much more than ever we could, living in his bed-bug-infested two-room basement flat on his own with an older sister who was mostly absent, no visible means of support, out the closet and caring for his own herness, as best his daily needs allowed in the netherworld of Black Baptist, white raised between World War II, Korea, Vietnam, and ghetto-exploding USA. As fresh as Benny was, he never came on to any of us managed boys. Kind Benny, who took the teasing and still bought us things because he was the only one of us usually with any coin. Benny, who taught us how to steal and not get caught, and how to be a friend when so-calls turned tail and ran. Benny was a woman under his skin, but he was more man than most of the so-called men I've lived to know. I lost track of Benny long before I turned my back on the hometown that raised me up and put him down for being who she was. I know now that be one strong reason why I never grew much of any fondness for Elmsford and its wannabe suburban way. Benny was my friend. Benny was my friend. Everything ain't heavy. There's some things like. Sometimes I write love poems. I don't know why. Dawn sings your name. Shadow lean against azure sky. Dawn draped night coat. Truth emerging. Shrink illusion. Testimony. Time a gift-giving voice heard whisper horizon, incantation, palm wine, bata drum, possession dance, spirit rising, arch of wing, call of crow, spoils return, butterfly wafting, hummingbird at the window, red squirrel clutching nut, high in old oak at winter solstice, a stranded kitten leaning against icy wind on the corner of a forked branch old elm. Life as nature, a native dancer, nature's rewind, sprig of red bud opens, early spring this year, a sunrise moment. Dawn sings, woman is your name.
There's a lot of moaning going on there.
Yeah.
After that one.
Maybe I read another. Yeah, I'm going to read one more and then we're done. I will come back from death to find your sweetness. I entered native dancer. You bird whirlwind, Oya's hymn, sweeping clean the graveyard walk. Oshun strutting, grass glinting, eastern morning. Savor joys, talk of meaning. Am I holding on to you? Holding on to what seemed heaven? Hell yes. And I would hold heaven if I could, but heaven won't be held or let go, and now I am and you, and creating spirit holds the world. Be content, scoop of humus. Rich breath, handful of pleasure, planted seed, blossoming spring after the fall. Winter now. Sapping tree has dried up, gone back to taproot deep in mother's breast. Days stretch out now in icy sheets of frozen feeling here. Only hours past winter solstice, year of millennial shift. Soon, fires from midnight sky will touch mother's barren body, warm the loins of the night nurse seeking red bud smiles. Soon, fireflies will horizon light, another day will season, another moment, another you, another me. Soon, rational rotation will push us into shifts of processed boredom, tired workers at the humdrum wheel. But love for you, harbored in my belly, will weather the darkest winter on New England's seacoast, will warm the chill of glacial recollection. In the body of orgasm, afterthought, we will learn to live with others, smile the smile of happy people, dance the dance of lovers strolling, but I will never love as I have loved you. What I have known with you was not just love, trite harlot of dictionaries, made of hand-me-down sentiment, derelict of dreams settling into resignation. What I have known with you, finished emptiness. Now, we walk separate roads, eyes turned inward to manage pain. I will come back from death to find your sweetness, and we will share again. Amen. Whew. Gold Rush on Lewis Street. I used to live on Oak Street, which is off of Lewis Street, and there's a park across from the funeral home on Lewis Street. And I was taking my morning run. That was when I still had knees. And I saw a woman and her child, and it was obviously the son's paper route, but Mama was carrying the papers and doing the work. And so this poem comes out of that. Gold Rush on Lewis Street. Oh, and there's, well, I think one. September sweat, brilliant sunshine, moon-beamed, new day coin of sparkle, a glistening, bleached, blonde head, dry wheat stalks, waving tassels in Indiana cornfields, stretching across centuries and cityscaped flatlands, kissing horizon, mud iron bowels, urban dwellers, inner city streets strutting banners of disjunction, too. Blonde tresses tout impressions, drawn naturally from the mix of chemically compliant once black strands, now golden soft, brushed against her blue-black skin. She was thin, but not skinny, a twig of certainty shooting iridescent smiles to passers-by. She carried a bag of newspapers that broadcast the day's headlines. She drummed up customers, her shoes turned over in a silent ache, her fire-black eyes penetrating sorrow. 3. A rotund black boy walked beside her. They smiled, talked. She pitched papers onto stoops, a perfect aim for the city's heartland. She was mother, being father, lugging a heavy load to raise a son to manhood best way she knew. 4. How quick the nouveau riche, naysaying, black wannabe class of 60s nationalists, preening conservative gray hairs to condemn her gold locks, turn over shoes, her flirtations, her blue-black skin, in their flight to suburbs where missionary talk of ghetto seasons their anchovy dip, the nouveau flip between pidgin and proper English, between themselves and her reflection. 5. She pays them no mind, keeps slinging papers, talking trash and schooling her son, keeps dyeing her hair, drinks her beer, some occasional bourbon, talks to her Lord when the way gets weary, curses when she damn well pleases. She's a man-child raising woman with no macho arm around her shoulder. She's a woman, a morning glory, blooming under the urban sun. Let me get to some of the newer stuff. Oh, no, before I do that, I have to give homage to John. Everybody know John? Not John the Conqueror. Not John Smith. Yes, John. John the Coltrane. John the Giant Slayer. Journey between stars and suns for John Coltrane. Let us go down to the river, a bayou blessing on the Carolina Hills seacoast ride, a heroin glow. Sun in ascension. Let me back up. There's a group of, okay. Ascension, equinox. Okay? John Coltrane's music.
Right.
There are names in here that speak to John Coltrane's legacy, but I wanted to give you Sun in Ascension and Equinox because I didn't want you to think I was talking about Let us go down to the river, a bayou blessing on the Carolina hills, seacoast ride, a heroin glow. Sun in ascension, equinox, journey between stars and suns to balance perfect day, perfect night, heavenly display, creation, light. North Carolina sand and seashore, a universe of mounded hills and red clay, long days spent in loving gaze, grandpa, daddy, black men solid in their world, preachers of the word, providers for the flesh, and spirits swelling life in young John, breath blown through saxophone sacred tones, men with no hesitation, family and the Lord, their dedication. Mama, teacher, auntie, healer, cousin Mary, sister listener, Father, Son, and holy intonation, ghosting deep in the bell curve of Coltrane's heart, hearing consequence, resolution, song, North Carolina, Philly, New York, horn in hearing, walking the bar, learning, earning chops and paying dues, blues, expression, impressions, meditations, serenity, compassion, a love supreme. Coltrane live in the cosmos, out of this world, tapestry in body and soul, lush life, the offering, learning to know, knowing to play, playing to go, miles high, Dolphy's axe, sheets of herd, the homies dance, crescent, peace on earth, Alabama, Afro blue, I hear a rhapsody, song of the Underground Railroad, ascension, on, cool, say, mama, Africa, Africa, a love supreme, train rode the sunship, rose up, scoring, soaring, amen, attaining, ascent, acknowledgement, resolution, pursuance, song, a love supreme. And for the women again. I call her Raven. Pencil thin winch of a black girl, take it easy, man. Needle fingers. Needle fingers, rat eyes. She used to pass beneath my window whistling songs soaked in Erie. It was winter, 1959, beginning of the end of the Eisenhower years, then on into the reign of Kennedy and Nixon. Sometimes she'd come alone, other times towing a horde of cohorts, queuing up in droves, their tin-can cars backed up to the boulevard filled with aching bodies, anxious eyes, numb minds. Raven was a haunting beauty. Voice, a hoarse mix of sensuous pleasure, drone, and ominous cry. But Raven spaced out, her once silky black skin dulled by a dingy grime that sucked her inner life, her pencil-thin fingers scratching incessantly at her murky image, flesh itching for a shot, a snort, a sniff, a pinch, a blow of Lady Heroine's haunting glow. She led a young, hot-head procession that choked the sidewalks with bodies reeking foul odors, spewing curses that curdled the genteel heart. Raven sold body. Blowjobs, handjobs, a smelly, fishy piece of flesh to parasites feeding on misery's carcass. She mainlined her trip on tracks that ran up both arms, punctured her thighs, burrowed deep within her belly, and shrank the veins carrying blood to her aching heart. Skin tone deep, bleached blonde to macadam black, she fed the motley lot of demons lining the avenue to buy her wares. Her piercing eyes belied a dope fiend's mind. Devoid of healthy choice, she might have made one day. Raven came no more. No more eerie whistling to crowd out my peace or teach me how to be thankful for the little I have. No more rat eyes looking into the window of my soul. No more sense pleasure for my lurking demon. The other dope fiends said, Raven, took a hot shot from south of the border. Chili Brown from Mexico claimed her, silenced her life. Time changes little when mine remains the same. Today I see Ravens babies financing romance with death, fired from Uzis, MAC-10s, AK-47s. They walk welfare lines with babies only days younger than themselves, and on the corners they sling rock into crack pipe, inhaling future that passes. Harbinger of a death they are bound to live out. Harbinger of a death they are bound to live out. One, I creep into the crawl space of memory, rise strong in belly tight and sinew, gutting maelstrom, become the fire swoosh of what's left. Feeling, been there, done that. Coming now, that buried in pith of self, the my of me searching for the we that knew when mine seized, when pulsing veins stretched, neck hung, dangling in the midnight. Oh, lingering doubt, voice in my throat choking, the lined palm of my right hand sweating. I am coughing. I am hacking off the fibrous tissue. I am dusting off windowsills of self, centuries unattended. What this memory flash, this spirit, what this open fire, roasted angle, coloring sight? Am I cornered or Celtic Cornish, seeking the dull, wet climb of other? Am I negrito hormone on the battlefield of symphonies? Genes encoding growth, receptors relative to tribal too. There are stumps of bleeding feet here. Nubs of fingers stuttering the breakneck and crawl space. There is hush chained, the hidden pang of hunger bleeding words. There is running and briar breaking skin. There is stubbed toe, callous soul. There is love missing and delirium exploding fear. There is nearness. The corner's song, lean boy caught in mean lean, head bobbing, smoke curling, and ever-present glowing, burning his dusky mind. Back against a shaded yard, an anchor fence, shadows creeping through the mist of disheveled light. Leela at the swinging door, smiling in a barred window, ground floor apartment 3. Where is the list of this? Why this meaning meandering? When did I lose touch and touch the loss? There is severed here, a split lip dance of the tongue, a curdling hiccup in the belch of stale breath. There are real people here, tucked neatly into the recesses of myself. People, real people with soul lives realer than my fear. There is a bleed out here, a greening of the mango swamp mind. There are people here drinking hard liquor and beer. People here waking morning to reject morning. People, simple, dignified people with lives of meaning and meanness and love, and TVs tuned to sitcoms and real TV that is anything but real. 4. I lean back in a comfy chair, a desk face screen with black scrawl, stumps of worn finger punch keys. I listen to the voices drop. 5. There are mothers here. Mothers with memories. Mothers with beat down fathers being fathers to sons without men. There are mothers and grandmothers here, and their absence from men, name them. There are hungry lions here. There are young boys dancing with extinction. Here, there is a sawed-off shotgun, a 20-gauge anger fueling force. There are friendships here, old wounds unhealed and aching fetid dream. There are lost loves and deeds undone and a void that won't be filled. There is a father here, a grown man with pain and children. There is a father absent here in a father's space. Here are fathers farther gone than memory. Fathers hanging on the corner of my conscience. Grown men bleeding the tiger-enforced bludgeon. There are stories here, the inebriated memory of youth, drunken recall, pleasuring pain. 6. I met Ruthie on the street outside her house. I was 21. She, a child of 17 with woman eyes. We were wind-stirring coals. They were her angels. Her older, wiser sister sat the porch and hawk-eyed my advance. A mother and grandmother watching from a second-story window. I crept here, buried my regrets in a bottle, and leapt here, sprang on the prey and buried my claws. Those days she spoke of love. I was lust here, and anguish wanting salvation. There was the need to be needed, to be held, to be felt. 7. There are police here, saps and bludgeon. There are words double speaking mean minds meaning. There are prisons here, and awakening, and life, and learning here. There is a man here, a life sprung from fighting forces. There is war here that counts the fallen bodies. There is a strange fruit hanging here. There are eyes turned away, eyes cast down. There is denial and avoidance and lies and a malingering avarice here. There is religion here, stark images of death-filled words recreating its mischief in the mind of hunger. Here, I do not guess. Here, there is no belief here. In the gut of mayhem, there is no lonely here. Here, in the bastion of my undoing, there is rest. There is clear sight. Here is the privilege of America. There is a here that I cannot get near. There is a hearing here where the poor cannot be heard. 8. Ronnie went to war here. His broad smile, nervous at the corners of his mouth. Ronnie had not left home much when he volunteered for Vietnam. There is anger here for the loss of Ronnie's sweetness, anger for the claws of Georgia's smack addiction that took him. There is pain here for the loves lost to mothers who hid their daughters from me. All this is here in me. Is me in life becoming, is the inside out of living, is the food that grows me, the breath that breathes me, the black hole in my eye. Is this dance with the devil in myself, this ass-kicking nostalgia for the what could have been. There is life here, life composing a polyrhythmic symphony, a melodic lusciousness. I am singing here in this garden, singing with the ancestors who walked with me, singing with the Malcolms and Chief Bays and Dr. Clarks. Life, the blessing, life, the mother-giving earth, life, eternal lesson of self-unfolding. I am carried here, and even John in all his anger. I am Margaret and Tyrone and Kinsey and Baba here. I am here because they were here. I am here because they are here, and I am here in being because they cared, and I learned, and I vowed to pass it on, to pass it on, to pass it on. Okay, let
One more, give one more.
okay, that's one more. All right. This is time. We ain't going there. That's too much. Okay, yeah. Yeah, stones. Stones. I carry stones in my pocket. They keep me grounded. They let me know, don't get a big head about nothing, do you? Your head big enough. Be cool. Understand that these rocks in your pocket, that's where you're going. Okay? You come from there, you're going back there. And the space in between, that's a gift. That's a blessing. Use it. I carry stones in my pockets. Rocks with no polish, smoothed by hands. Rubbing rugged surfaces, fingering cool, calcified earth. I carry stones in my pockets. Mineral wealth from my mother's womb. Lava belched up from her core and cooled in her deep sea. I carry stones in my pockets. Masonry of experience crystallized and purified on stonework altars, rock hard, gem strong. I carry stones in my pockets. Having spit the rocks from my jaws, using the weight of boulders to tip these scales, I carry rocks in my pockets. Ground pieces of the wealth gap produced from the ore of my people's metal. I carry rocks in my pockets and memoirs that won't fade as my eyes dim. Cause my children's strong, getting stronger, stronger still. And they carry my stones as spirit weights in their pockets, holding them to a truth they don't want to escape. I carry the rock of ages in my pockets, the pride weight gained